and welcome to Get the Table, another wrestling roundtable discussion podcast with myself, Adam Wilbourn, and the Dadley boys of WhatCulture, sort of, Michael Sidgwick and Andy Murray, here to discuss another burning wrestling issue. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts where we review Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, AEW stuff as well, interviews. We have more roundtable discussions like this one and a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. But gents, I'm not going to say it today.
Thanks.
AEW's All Out pay-per-view is this weekend. I cannot wait. It is arguably one of the most hyped non-WWE shows in recent memory. Before we get into talking about the ins and outs of it, how much are you looking forward to?
I'm absolutely hyped. Absolutely hyped. I'm a little bit worried about one aspect of the card, which we'll get to later, but it looks incredible on paper. The volume is going to be out of this world. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely outstanding. Like, a lot of the results are very difficult to predict. I'm pretty damn high on AEW as it is, so yeah, massively hyped.
Yeah, same. It's through the roof, really. As we come to talk about specific matches and other issues, I will express quite a few concerns about various things. But the thing is, AEW they haven't necessarily earned anything because they've only had 3 shows, but they haven't developed the kind of warranted cynicism that I have for WWE, and they've proven so far that they can take lemons and turn them into lemonade or paint them gold.
Yeah, one thing I will say as well is that this isn't just, it's a show that isn't WWE, so therefore it's going to be good. Like, I'll slightly disagree with that point. I think the road to All Out has been absolutely tremendous story building. Like, if you've watched from the first minute to the last episode, the entire Sean Spears-Cody interaction, that story's been absolutely dynamite. Like, Ty Dillinger is part of the most compelling program in wrestling right now. It's just outrageous. So yeah, it is informed opinion for me, at least.
I suppose the argument is, if you're going to draw a comparison to WWE's, they don't have 8 hours or whatever it is of TV a week to fill, so they can concentrate on really condensing those storylines down. You don't need to have someone to go out there and do a 15-minute rambling promo that you then condense down. But even so, there was the possibility that it could make some huge missteps in there, and it's been completely thrown into flux with the loss of Jon Moxley. But we will get into that. Let's start actually with talking about a match that, a person that isn't on this card, but someone who I genuinely believe, I realise I come in here and I regularly do bits.
You're delusional, mate.
But I genuinely believe CM Punk is going to show up and quite possibly get involved at All Out.
Why?
Because I think the stars have aligned perfectly. Now, I realise some people are analysing the wrong sorts of things when they saw the sort of logo for StarCast and the logos for All Out and what have you, and they said, oh, look at this, that's CM Punk's logo. Well, it's not really just his. But obviously, his involvement has been hyped. It makes huge amounts of sense, obviously, with All Out being in Chicago, StarCast, being in Chicago and him being involved in that. And I look at AEW and I look at how much they regularly, every single time they put on a show, want to make a huge, huge impact. And, I poo-pooed Jon Moxley's involvement in AEW quite spectacularly. And I just think there's so many things, like I say, not only it being in Chicago, but the impending launch of AEW, and they wanted to build the hype even more so. And I'm not saying that he's going to be a regular member of the TV show, for example, but it's the biggest possible middle finger that CM Punk can give to Vince McMahon, of giving them that even bigger lift in terms of public awareness of AEW. And I think, the argument is, well, why does CM Punk even need to go back to wrestling? He's done very well for himself, and he's enjoying this alternative MMA career. The argument, yes, with legal case and stuff, could well be money. But also, I think the passion for it has returned. I watched that video that they released of him, promoting his meet and greet appearances, and him genuinely saying that he wants to go out and meet fans and speak to people about it.
Take a 20K bump.
And yes, that will help matters as well. But I've just have this sensation that I think the thing is when they were thinking about booking CM Punk for StarCast, you have to know that is going to encourage fans to think he's going to be involved in All Out. And I think that always has been in their back of their mind. And I just think that was part of the entire negotiations. But you don't think that's the case?
No, I don't think it's the case. There's one glimmer of hope, if you want to call it that. In my personal opinion, this company does not need CM Punk to succeed. And there are several members of that roster who have far surpassed him in terms of in-ring work. Not that that's the be-all and end-all in this company, but the one faint glimmer of hope I had was he liked an Instagram post or create an Instagram post or something talking about Eddie Guerrero, looking back very fondly on his influence over his career back in ROH. As a famous quote on CM Punk's Best in the World WWE DVD where he thought he was absolutely great. He always did. He probably still does. Until he got in the ring with Eddie Guerrero in Ring of Honor and he said, boy, do I suck. Earlier this year, this is the only time I think he's even vaguely showed a happy memory that he has from his time in wrestling was about this thing. So I'm thinking if he's letting himself get a little bit nostalgic, then that is the first little flicker of, maybe I could like this again. Maybe I could fall in love with the industry all over again. I just think he's too difficult to deal with. There's been a personal falling out. Not that precludes business in this industry. It's one of the... Until it happens, just don't let yourself think it's going to happen. You don't need it to happen.
I won't see it all out as a disappointment if it doesn't happen.
But that's my issue with the whole narrative is that people are trying to impose it and it doesn't need it at all.
There's a bit of me that I was very much of the opinion, well, not very much of the opinion, but I could understand the opinion of people saying the wrestling business is passed him by. We don't need him anymore. And I was inclined to agree with that. Like you say, this card is not struggling with or without CM Punk. But then I just saw that 2-minute Twitter video that they released somewhere in Chicago. I watched that and I was hanging on his every single word. Andy Murray, you have the casting vote. Will CM Punk show up at All Out?
Absolutely not. No chance in hell. Chick Magnet Phil, so many years, so much material, so many records of him just talking about how much he absolutely hated, how miserable, how messed up his last few years in the business made him. I don't think that a couple of Tony Khan's sweet sugar sachets are going to change that for him, unfortunately. Look, I would love to be proved wrong. Absolutely love to be proved wrong. I love CM Punk. I have all the respect in the world for him doing that UFC failed run where he got embarrassed by a couple of goobers. Mickey Gall's not a goober. I apologize. But you know what I mean.
The other one.
Yeah, the other one. What was his name? Mike Johnson? The PW Insider guy. Beat him up, didn't he? But we get to the point where it's just getting ridiculous. I
would just want to talk about this card. I think it's great.
I think that we'll be sitting here at 50 years old, which is 20 odd years away.
Well, and some of us.
Yeah, we'll be talking.
17.
We'll be sitting here. 16. CM Punk will be 65 or whatever, and we'll be talking about him potentially returning to wrestling. The topic is, I don't know. There's a lot of talk that the social media interactions that might mean something, that Cody and Matt Jackson and Punk tweeting back and forth about texting and making little shots and stuff. Ooh, that might be part of a work. Well, if it is, it's one of the worst works I've ever seen. It's lame. It's not even good banter. And these guys are really, really smart. They're really, really switched on. They are excellent at utilizing multiple forms of media to promote a wrestling show, as we've seen with this, the Road to All Out, as Michael has pointed out. Surely if that was a work, they'd come up with something better. I'm not sold on it at all. I would love it to happen, but I'm not sold.
I just can't wait until December when the TV is in full swing, second pay-per-view's been and gone. He hasn't appeared because he's not going to appear, and we'll finally sort of shift away from the narrative.
Let's talk about the card.
Yes,
like
please.
You say. Tell me about the matches you're most looking forward to.
The match I'm most looking forward to was Kenny Omega versus Pac. I mean, and I'm coming...
Not a bad replacement.
It's just ridiculous.
It's a shame to lose Moxley.
Well, it is, and I'm still a little bit concerned for his well-being because he's had to pull out a StarCast altogether, which is a real shame. Apparently, the indication is that he will be ready for the TV debut, but Mercer is serious stuff, so it's tempered slightly by my worry for Jon Moxley, who's just completely impressed me as a human being and as a performer this year. But Kenny Omega and Pac, they're both genius workers. They both do stuff physically that you shouldn't be capable of. They do stuff that looks so spectacular but also feels so painful, like intersecting two great pro wrestling philosophies. And they've got the two most protected and formidable finishers in the entire industry. Like the idea of them even teasing one finish, much less two finishes, much less kicking out of one of them. There's so much narrative potential in this match. It's a story and it's a spectacle. It's going to be out of this world, blow away good.
You're going to think I'm doing shtick here, knowing my taste of wrestling as you guys do, and certain members of the listenership might. But the two matches I'm most looking forward to, number one, is Joey Janela versus Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin.
The Cracker Barrel clash.
Yes, they are going to murder each other. They're going to land on their heads off 30-foot tall objects, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And the build for this match, it's so simple, but it's everything I want from pro wrestling. So they had a trios match as a team at Fight for the Fallen. They lost because there was a mix-up between Jimmy Havoc and Darby Allin that led to Darby Allin taking the pin to Sean Spears. They argued about this afterwards, and in came Joey Janela. He was pissed off because he lost as well. And what was it? He said, I've worked 11 years to get this goddamn contract, and you guys mess it up. They're pissed off because they lost. They had an argument, and now they're having a match. That's what pro wrestling should be. No one's stolen someone's girlfriend or smashed a car or written a fake note from someone's son on SmackDown. It's brilliant stuff, and the match is just going to be a destruction. Darby, I am a ghoul. Speaking of being a ghoul, Sean Spears versus Cody.
Oh, yeah.
It's astonishing. No, it's not astonishing. That's putting the two wrestlers down. I shouldn't say that because, I think we all had... we knew what Cody could do when he's given us... But I certainly had high expectations for the former Ty Dillinger when he left WWE because we all thought he'd been underutilized. But even having said that, I don't think any of us would have thought he would reach these sorts of lines.
With
Spears, fantastic stuff.
With Spears, it was more a case not of being excited to see him in AEW, but more interested to see if he could be more than a gimmick. Because in WWE, at the height of his popularity, he's a very talented guy, but he was literally just a gimmick. It was the 10 thing, big pops, limited shelf life. Now is his chance to kind of step away from that and show that he can be, like Cody has since leaving WWE, this fleshed out, fully three-dimensional performer. Cody's promised a bloodbath on Twitter. Fine, love that crap. But the thing that makes me most excited for all of this is the inclusion of Tully Blanchard. And it's kind of an easy thing to roll your eyes at and stuff because it's really easy for Cody to kind of pick a guy from his family's past. But again, it's pro wrestling. It's if you have 30 years or whatever of history to lean on, you bloody well lean on that. And Tully in his role has been phenomenal as well. This guy's, 65, 70 years old.
So sinister.
And he's the creepiest mother hubbard in the whole thing. Even when he's just sitting there looking at a contract with Spears, he has added so much to Sean Spears' act. I hope they stay together forever. I hope this match at least comes close to what Cody versus Dustin was.
Who do you think is going to be in Cody's corner?
Pharaoh, if he's not arrested. Brandy, probably.
Yeah, DDP's been suggested, obviously.
He's been suggested because there's obviously been a lot of interaction in Cody's matches in the past. I don't want to delve too far into fantasy booking territory because with AEW, it's sort of like their reality is way better than my fantasy booking, which is why I don't like to do it. But it would be a good grounds for MJF to turn heel if either A, he cornered him and threw in the towel, which I think would be a good way to keep it going without it being such a quick, rapid, it's just a turn. So if he throws in the towel and they like their symbology, and Cody was doing this with Kenny Omega, so it would be a nice tie-in to the Elite's history, or Arn Anderson could corner Cody Rhodes, thus really annoying MJF into turning heel.
Him and Tully could have some fun as well. That'd be good stuff.
I love MJF. I realise I say this every time we talk about AEW or non-WWE wrestlers. I just think I cannot take my eyes off the screen when he's on there, and I hang on his every word, despite the fact he tells me I'm a bell end at every given opportunity, including on Twitter. But before we get to the 21-woman Casino Battle Royal, I want you to quickly think about who you think is going to win that, and of course, be in that match for the inaugural AEW's Women's World Championship, which is going to be on the first TV for AEW. I'm going to talk about the match I'm most looking forward to, which hasn't already been covered and doesn't include the AEW World Championship, and that is, of course, the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks. I was incredibly lucky enough to be there at Double or Nothing when my face melted because of the stuff that Rey Fenix was able to do. And of course, there's worries about him and speculation about what's going to go on with that, with his injury and whether or not they're going to have to hide it or get a replacement or what. But a ladder match for the AAA World Tag Team Championships between these four men is going to be spectacular. I think it's going to steal the show.
The thought of Rey Fenix Nick Jackson, who just do the most preposterous, physically impossible things together, ropes and ladders. You're going to see the spot. You're going to see the high spot of the year with those two. It's going to be incredible. Rey Fenix is a lunatic with ridiculous powers of recuperation. Didn't he take that horrific bump at Impact earlier this year?
Yeah, with the match with LAX on the stage.
Yeah. So he'll probably be fine. And if he's not, he'll just
Yeah.
convince himself he is. It's just a different mentality.
And I don't want to hark on about WWE, but in a time where, well, in a week where we've sat around this table and talked about the death of tag team wrestling in WWE, you not only have that, you have the tag team match between Best Friends and the Dark Order. You have Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans. Angelico defies gravity for me in Private Party. We've talked about more than enough. And you have that 6-man tag team match as well. They are presenting the polar opposites to WWE.
Yeah, they really are. 3 feature tag matches on a major pay-per-view. It's great to see, and there's a lot of really solid, strong teams in there. Best Friends versus Dark Order. Say what you will about the Dark Order's gimmick. We've said plenty across various platforms.
I was there when they turned up and everyone went, huh?
Why is Crater here, and why has he got 7 mates? But they're a phenomenal tag team. They showed that at Fight for the Fallen. Best Friends. If you don't follow Chuck Taylor on Trent Barretta on Twitter, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And they're also a great tag team, which helps. The really interesting thing for me on this card is Private Party, who really broke out with that awesome performance, the fluidity they showed at Fyter Fest, the personality that came across in their work, incredible stuff. I'm really looking forward to seeing them tie up with Jack Evans, who you've got to assume was a massive influence on these guys, because he's been doing this flippy-dippy doo-dah days for about 20 years. I remember him doing a bloody Eminem gimmick in Ring of Honor in like 2005. So it's really cool to be able to see a guy like that who can still go. I think he's only 37, which is mental, tying up with like this younger generation who are clearly being presented for big things in the future.
And Luchasaurus as well.
Imagine not loving Luchasaurus. How the biggest star of Fight for the Fallen was a bloody Lucha dinosaur who does spin kicks.
To put into perspective how good he is, Jim Cornette likes him. Not Jim Cornette loves Luchasaurus. Does like literally the only thing about AEW that he likes.
Let's talk about this casino battle.
On MJF.
Yeah, let's talk about this casino battle royale then. There's a fairly obvious winner. Mm-hmm. Is it as simple as Britt Baker here?
I would say so. It is for me. It's very telling that she is being presented as the marketed face of that women's division, because she's obviously very marketable. I will say that. They presented her at the TCA upfronts, like front and center. They know that they've got a potential star on their hands with like a real, like proper babyface, hard working background with her dual occupations. It's just too difficult to see past her.
If there's one way to see past her, it's the latest wrestler to get announced at the time of recording, Awesome Kong, who seems to have this nice little angle going on with Brandy. You could easily see them teaming up and some kind of screwy thing happening in the match, but that might be better used as a way to put a babyface victory over rather than having Kong prevail. But I could certainly see that happening. As far as like potential mystery entrants go, well, that's kind of interesting. You can think of Aja Kong confrontation with Awesome Kong at Fight for the Fallen. They could build to a TV match. That'd be cool. Kylie Ray, who hasn't wrestled since June. Nobody really seems to know what's going on with her at the moment, but hopefully she's able to return. And it would be great to see her come in at this match because she looked really great.
She made a huge impression at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
I need to see Yuka Sakazaki back. You've charmed me. That's the feeling I had whenever I've seen her at Double or Nothing. She is the weirdest person to be a pro wrestler. She's tiny, but she's just so endearing. She can do some amazing stuff in the ring. I've compared her to, she's the Arya Stark of professional wrestling.
Very good.
Like tiny, but somehow a credible killer who you're just desperate to root behind. Like, I want my heart broken. I'd love to see her make the final 2 or the final 4 and get, just punished over the top rope, see you later, but show enough to make people want to believe in her once more. I just love it. I think she's great.
Allow me to be an absolute fanny and pour cold water on that. She, I believe, is booked in Japan that day. As is Aja Kong, actually, so I don't know why I said that. Good.
Anything could happen. Let's talk about this AEW World Championship match because, we're all excited about it, but we were talking before we came in here and we have different perspectives on this, especially due to its placement on the card. One would anticipate probably the main event and what precedes it.
They will definitely do this as the main event, in my opinion. I think they're too traditionalist to not put their world title over in the last match. It would just be senseless, particularly now since the big grudge match is now an exhibition dream match, the Kenny Omega match.
Yes.
My problem with this match isn't so much the build, because I think they've recovered nicely from Fight for the Fallen. The stuff on Road to All Out has been really quite good. Hangman Page has been a badass. They've done really well to stress the stakes and importance. Like, both have put themselves over as needing to win this for very different reasons. There's a great contrast to the dynamic. My problem is there's going to be a lot of violence on this card. Cody versus Shawn Spears is effectively guaranteed to be like an old school JCP bloodbath. The Cracker Barrel Clash is going to be insane, ultra-violence, just ridiculous. The ladder match is going to be that, except with ladders and more talented performers. By the time you get to a Chris Jericho match in 2019, for which he really does rely on smoke and mirrors and weapons and tables and the like, it might begin to feel like a diminished return. And if they instead opt for a traditional wrestling match in which Jericho doesn't brawl, which doesn't seem likely to me, considering what he's been doing for the past 2 years and doing it very well. If they go for a traditional wrestling match, Kenny Omega and Pac are going to blow them out of the water in that regard as well. I will be very interested to see how they're going to handle this. I'm mildly worried.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this match more than anything else. Unfortunately, the unmitigated disaster that was Fight for the Fallen, and it was a disaster. People were chanting "Thank you, Jericho" as he bloodied Paige up. I haven't been able to recover my excitement from that, unfortunately. I think the build-up stuff on the YouTube series has been good. I enjoyed Paige ripping out his stitches and stuff. That was a great moment, but for me, they haven't truly rebounded. And that leads me to approach this with a real sense of fear for what's going to happen with Paige in particular, who early on was being set up clearly as not necessarily the ace for now, but certainly the ace for the future, and a guy they're going to build around for years to come.
He's like the Yun Akiyama, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be like, it's going to be really interesting to see how he's received. I'm really concerned now that he's either going to get a lukewarm reaction or he's going to get a negative reaction against Chris Jericho. That being said, like we mentioned early when we started this podcast, AEW have given me no reason not to believe that things won't be good as of yet. So I have all the faith in the world in me going into this match going, oh yeah, whatever, and coming out going, pfft. At the same time, the build just hasn't done it for me.
On the upside, Chris Jericho's last 2 major matches haven't reached the level of his match with Tetsuya Naito at Wrestle Kingdom or the one with Kenny Omega at the Wrestle Kingdom before. However, on the bright side, Hangman Page is absolutely insane.
Yes,
right? He's got no regard for his own well-being. He will hopefully act as a foil, much like Tetsuya Naito, just selling with full commitment for Chris Jericho's just insane, like really violent spots. Like I'm talking like planted DDTs on tables and all the rest of it. Like just really putting in the performance of his lifetime and working around Chris Jericho's physical limitations. The best version of this match could be awesome. I just worried that we're already going to see enough awesome stuff and it's going to tire out the crowd.
Who's going to be the first ever AEW World Champion for you?
Chris Jericho.
Hangman Page via heel turn.
Oh, shaking hands with Tony K.
Yeah, if you watched the last Road to All Out, in fact, no, it was on Being the Elite. He asked the Bucks to second him. They turned him down, saying they were too busy on the night. And in preceding weeks, he said that his entire family is going to be there. It's just setting up for a really big babyface moment that when it becomes apparent in the midst of the match that might not materialize, he will get desperate and turn heel.
Exciting times. I cannot wait.
That's going to be fantastic.
Don't forget, if you're a fan of this and looking forward to All Out, we will be doing a live stream on the night of our reactions to it, myself and Adam Nicholas. And that day, which is one of the best days in wrestling this year, arguably, we also will have live stream reactions to both Royal Quest and NXT UK TakeOver. Make sure you join us for that, and make sure you check out our previews, which will be out as podcasts for Royal Quest and NXT UK are on our podcast channel, WhatCulture Wrestling. My mind just stopped there. I got excited about Adam Page and Chris Jericho for a second.
Could we talk about Hikaru Shida and Riho a little bit? Yeah, Hikaru Shida's the absolute best, and she's going to win.
I agree.
There you have it. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Whilst you're there, follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hagrid. Used that once today already? You don't care.
You can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. I said follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. And make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts. We'll be releasing a lot over this weekend, centering around all the very, very exciting wrestling. This has been Get the Table. My thanks to Michael and to Andy. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.